If you're over 60 and still pleasuring yourself the same way you did at 30, this might explain why you're feeling more tired, foggy, or off balance than you realize. Let me begin with a truth that's hard to hear, but even harder to ignore. Every week in my practice, I meet good men, strong men, who are dealing with fatigue, low energy, sleep issues, prostate trouble, and they can't figure out why. They're eating well, they're walking, their lab results look okay, but something still feels off. And often, when we gently start talking about what happens in their most private moments, about masturbation, there's this moment of hesitation, a pause, sometimes a laugh, sometimes even shame. But I'll tell you something I've learned in over 30 years as a men's health specialist and urologist. It's not shame that's hurting us, it's silence. Because the truth is, masturbation after the age of 60 is not the same as it was when you were 30. Your body has changed. Your hormones have changed. And what once brought you relief and relaxation might now be draining your energy, disrupting your sleep, even slowly damaging your prostate or your testosterone levels without you realizing it. Now, before you click away or think, oh no, another lecture telling me I'm doing everything wrong, let me be very clear. This isn't about guilt. This isn't about stopping something natural or turning your back on pleasure. This is about awareness. This is about learning how to adapt, how to work with your changing body, not against it. Because here's the part no one teaches us. As we age, even the most personal and intimate parts of our life need to evolve. They need care, gentleness, and yes, recalibration. I've worked with CEOs, farmers, grandfathers, divorced men in their 60s and 70s, even a few retired priests. And you know what they all had in common? They were never told that something as simple and private as how you masturbate could influence your prostate health, or your sleep, or your hormone balance. That's why I'm here, to walk you through 7 of the most common and overlooked mistakes men over 60 make when it comes to solo intimacy. These aren't wild guesses. These are patterns I've seen for decades. And more importantly, these are mistakes that are completely avoidable once you know what to look for. And no, this won't be about giving it up or turning pleasure into a problem. Quite the opposite. This is about reclaiming pleasure in a way that actually supports your energy, your sleep, your strength, and your sense of connection with yourself. Now let me ask you something personal, and I ask this as a doctor, not a judge. Have you ever finished pleasuring yourself, and instead of feeling good, you felt tired, or a little empty, maybe even a bit foggy afterward? That's not in your head. That's your body trying to communicate that what once worked might not be working anymore. We're going to explore everything from the effects of overstimulation, like watching modern pornography that's far more aggressive than your brain was designed to handle, to how often is actually healthy after 60, to why your prostate might be quietly inflamed without any major symptoms, to how emotional loneliness can sneak into your most private moments and quietly drain your vitality. And yes, I'll give you real solutions, not theories, things that have helped thousands of men just like you. But to get there, you've got to start with a willingness to learn, to listen, not to me, but to your own body. Your body is wiser than you think. It just needs a bit of updated support. So if you're over 60, or heading there soon, and you're serious about protecting your energy, your intimacy, and your peace of mind, I invite you to stay with me. The biggest mistake I see isn't watching porn. It's not how often you do it. It's not even how you do it. It's that no one ever told you that your body after 60 is speaking a new language. And if you don't learn to hear it, you could be slowly draining the very life you're trying to preserve. But here's the good news, it's not too late. Let's talk about what to watch out for and how small changes can lead to powerful, lasting vitality. Let's start with the one habit that's been quietly rewiring your brain without you even knowing it. And I guarantee 9 out of 10 men over 60 are doing it. Let's talk about something most men would never bring up in conversation, but almost all of them think about: porn. Now, before you roll your eyes or assume I'm about to shame you, hear me out. I've sat across from hundreds of men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s. Men who built businesses, raised families, served in the military, survived cancer. And when we start talking about intimacy, they get quiet. They shift in their chair and say things like, "Doc, I know it's strange at my age, but is it still okay to watch porn?" And let me tell you right now, that's not a strange question at all. In fact, it's one of the most important questions you can ask after 60. Because the issue isn't whether porn is good or bad, it's how your brain and body react to it now, at this stage of life. You see, when you were 25, your brain could bounce back quickly from all kinds of stimulation. Visual arousal, dopamine spikes, late nights. It was built for it. But now? At 65? 70? The chemistry has changed. Your brain isn't as elastic, and your nervous system doesn't recover as fast. And that's where modern porn becomes a hidden trap. It's fast, it's aggressive, it's constantly switching angles and scenes, designed to flood your brain with intense, artificial stimulation. At first, it might seem harmless. It works, it's quick, it's convenient. But over time, it starts to rewire your arousal system. I've had patients tell me, "Doc, I can't get aroused without it anymore," or "I feel anxious or low after I finish." That's not weakness. That's your brain reacting to overstimulation. You become numb to softer, more natural forms of touch. You may even start to feel disconnected from your body entirely, like your mind is excited, but your body doesn't respond. That's not a failure of manhood. That's biology. And here's what makes it worse. Most men don't even notice it's happening. They just assume they're getting older, that this is normal. But it's not age. It's habit. Because when your brain is constantly flooded with extreme imagery, your body stops reacting to real, gentle, authentic stimulation. Worse yet, for many men who live alone or have lost their partners, porn starts to replace connection. Now, I'm not here to judge. I've counseled veterans, widowers, professors, even priests. Good men who never learned how aging affects the male brain. They were never told that something that felt harmless at 40 could become harmful at 70. And that's why I always say, if it leaves you feeling empty, tired, or disconnected, it's time to rethink it. You deserve more than a few minutes of escape followed by hours of fatigue or guilt. You deserve satisfaction that nourishes you, not drains you. So what can you do? Start by noticing how you feel after, not during. During, it always feels like relief. But what about 30 minutes later? Or 2 hours? Do you feel grounded and clear, or restless and dull? Your body tells the truth if you listen. Try taking a short break, just a week without visual stimulation. Most men report greater sensitivity, better erections, and a surprising return of emotional clarity in that time alone. If that feels too extreme, reduce the intensity. Choose slower content. Avoid switching videos rapidly. And whatever you do, never masturbate when you're not truly aroused. That's when the body starts treating it like a compulsion instead of a response. You can also try breathing techniques or gentle movement during self-pleasure. These help reconnect your body and brain, which often get split apart by years of overstimulation. And here's something most men have never heard. What's good for your brain is almost always good for your libido. Let me leave you with a quick story. One of my patients, Paul, age 68, had been using porn daily. He thought it was keeping his sex drive alive, but he felt exhausted all the time, couldn't sleep well, and was starting to have erection issues. I asked him to take just 2 weeks away from porn. No pressure, no shame, just try something different. Instead of the screen, he focused on slow, mindful touch. No goal, just awareness. 2 weeks later, he came back with tears in his eyes and said, "Doc, I feel like my body is actually alive again. That's not magic. That's biology, recovering." So if you've been wondering why things don't feel the way they used to, this might be your starting point. Not to give up pleasure, but to rediscover it in a deeper, more powerful way. Let's keep going, because there's another common trap many older men fall into, how often they're stimulating themselves. And the real danger isn't the act itself, but the lack of recovery. Stick with me, it gets better from here. Let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time you gave your body a real chance to recover from arousal itself? I'm not talking about recovering from a workout or a stressful day, though those matter too. I mean the kind of recovery your body needs after sexual release. Most men don't think about this, and why would they? No one ever told them that arousal is a form of exertion, that it uses energy, that it affects hormone levels. that your body, especially after 60, needs rest afterward, just like after exercise. But I've seen it over and over in my clinic. A man comes in, usually looking a little worn down. He says, "Doc, I just feel tired all the time. I'm sleeping okay, I eat clean, but my energy's gone. I'm not depressed, but I'm not myself either." So I ask, gently, about his sexual habits. And more often than not, there's a pause, a shrug, maybe even a nervous laugh. And then he says something like, "Well, I still take care of things, almost every day, sometimes twice." Here's what I tell him, and now I'm telling you. Masturbation isn't the problem. It's the frequency without recovery that's quietly draining your energy. You see, when you're younger, your body rebounds quickly. After an orgasm, your testosterone dips slightly, but it bounces back in hours. Your nervous system resets fast. But after 60, everything slows down. After ejaculation, your body releases prolactin, a hormone that brings on drowsiness and even mild low mood. And in your 60s or 70s, that hormonal dip can last for days, not hours. If you're masturbating multiple times a week or daily without letting your system reset, you're keeping your body in a constant state of depletion. It's not just about energy either. You may start noticing weaker erections, less desire, trouble sleeping, foggy thinking, or even a short temper. And here's the tough part. Most men just chalk it up to age. But what if it's not age? What if it's simply a body that's never getting a full reset? I've seen this story play out again and again. One patient, let's call him Walter, came to me at 72. Sharp mind, kind heart. But he said, "Doc, I feel like I've lost my spark. I'm not depressed, but I'm just flat." We talked about his lifestyle. Turns out he was masturbating once, sometimes twice a day, mostly out of boredom, not desire. I asked him to take a short break, not forever. Just long enough to give his nervous system a reset. The first few days were rough. He said he felt restless, even a little emotional. But after 2 weeks, he came back and said, "I finally feel like a man again." His energy returned. His sleep deepened. His desire came back, not as a habit, but as a real embodied feeling. So how much is too much? There's no perfect number. Every man is different. But I usually recommend for men over 60, 2 to 3 times per week, max. And only when your body truly feels ready, not out of boredom, stress, or routine. Ask yourself, do I feel better after? Do I feel calm and connected, or drained and disconnected? That's your body talking. Respect it. Remember, recovery isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's how you preserve strength instead of burning through it. And ironically, the less often you stimulate, the more powerful the experience becomes. Your erections may be firmer, your orgasms more intense, your emotional connection to yourself deeper. This isn't about discipline for the sake of control. This is about aligning with the rhythm of your body as it changes with age. Because here's the real trap. Even if your frequency seems normal, if you're still carrying this next habit, you might still be causing harm. Because most men focus only on the act itself, but they forget about the one small gland that quietly supports everything. And that gland? It's being overworked, silently, every single day. Up next, we need to talk about the prostate and how years of unconscious habits might be causing subtle damage that doesn't show up until it's almost too late. Trust me, this next part might surprise you. There's a small part of your body that almost no man thinks about until it starts causing problems. It's not visible. You can't see it in the mirror. You can't feel it unless something goes wrong. But it plays a massive role in your energy, your erections, your urination, and your overall sense of well-being. I'm talking about your prostate. Now, before you tune out and think, yeah, I know what the prostate is, let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually thought about how your habits, especially during masturbation, might be affecting it? Most men haven't. And honestly, I don't blame them. No one teaches us how to care for the prostate. We just assume it'll take care of itself. But after 60, the prostate becomes a lot less forgiving. You see, by the time you reach your 60s or 70s, your prostate has already gone through decades of wear and tear. It's been exposed to inflammation, hormonal shifts, pressure from surrounding tissues, and years of unconscious habits, many of which we developed in our teens. And unlike your muscles, your prostate doesn't bounce back easily. It becomes more vulnerable to congestion, swelling, and chronic low-grade inflammation. And most men won't feel anything until the symptoms start creeping in. A dull ache in your groin, waking up multiple times at night to urinate, reduced ejaculate volume, a weaker and less satisfying orgasm, or a stream that starts and stops or takes too long to begin. You know what most guys say when these show up? Guess I'm just getting old. But let me tell you, many of these symptoms are not inevitable. They're your body asking you to care for your prostate differently. One of the biggest culprits? The way you handle yourself during masturbation. I've had patients tell me they go through the motions quickly, use tight grips, squeeze hard, or don't wait for full arousal. Some men edge for long periods, pushing their bodies toward intensity without ever fully releasing. Others do it without lube, or while half asleep in bed out of habit. All of these patterns may seem harmless, but they create consistent pressure and tension in the pelvic floor and prostate region. And that damage builds slowly over time. Think about it like a car engine. You don't notice the damage after one bad drive, but after years of neglect, you start hearing strange noises. Performance drops. Eventually, it breaks down. Your prostate is the same. I remember working with a man named Frank. He was 66 and had been waking up 3 or 4 times a night to urinate. His scans looked fine. His blood work wasn't alarming. But when we talked, I learned he had been masturbating the same way for over 40 years. Fast, tight, mechanical. I suggested one simple shift. Slow down, use lubrication, wait for natural arousal, and focus on sensation, not release. Within a month, his nighttime urination reduced. 2 months later, he was sleeping through the night. No pills, no surgery, just a gentler, more aware approach. The truth is, your prostate is not weak. It's tired, it's overworked, and it's asking for a bit of care. So what can you do? Start with these small shifts. Always wait until you're genuinely aroused. Don't force it out of habit. Use a non-irritating, warm lubricant to reduce friction. Avoid squeezing too tightly or clenching your pelvic muscles during the act. After ejaculation, empty your bladder. This helps flush the urethra and prevent irritation. Stay hydrated. Move your body regularly. Gentle walks and hip stretches go a long way. These may sound simple, but they can change everything. Because many prostate issues start not with disease, but with decades of tension and friction that go unaddressed. You don't need to give up pleasure. In fact, these changes often lead to deeper satisfaction, fuller orgasms, and a better connection with your body. Think of your prostate like the engine of an old, reliable car. It will keep running smoothly if you treat it right. Ignore it, or keep pushing it the same way you did at 30, and it may wear out sooner than you think. And here's the danger. Chronic prostate inflammation often doesn't scream. It whispers, just enough to make you feel tired or disconnected, to make you urinate more often or sleep a little worse, but not enough to sound the alarm, until one day, it's too late. Don't wait for that moment. You can start supporting your prostate today with awareness, intention, and a little kindness. Now let's talk about something most men have never been told. Your body actually needs movement during arousal. This next mistake might be dulling your sensitivity and weakening your sexual function, simply because you've been staying too still. Have you ever sat in the same chair for years? Same position, same habit, same routine, and one day, you suddenly realize something just feels off down there. Maybe things feel a little numb, a little slower, like you're going through the motions, but the spark just isn't there anymore. You're not alone. I can't tell you how many men have come into my office and said something like, "Doc, I don't get it. I've cut back on porn, I'm being more gentle, I'm not overdoing it, but I still feel like something's missing." And when I ask one simple question, the answer is almost always the same. When you masturbate, are you moving your body at all? And they usually blink at me and say, "No, why would I?" Well, let me tell you why. Because after 60, stillness becomes the silent enemy of sexual vitality. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with relaxing. But if you're always lying in bed or sitting in a recliner, barely moving a muscle while trying to feel aroused, you're cutting off one of the most important ingredients to sexual function: blood flow. You see, as we age, circulation becomes less efficient. That's just part of the process. The heart works harder, vessels lose elasticity, and blood doesn't move quite as freely. And when blood isn't moving, neither is energy, sensation, or arousal. Your body is not just a mind, it's not just a penis. It's a full system of oxygen, movement, posture, nerves, and breath. When you masturbate, in total stillness, especially in the same position every time, you're unintentionally training your body into a kind of sexual passivity. Over time, this stillness can lead to dull or muted sensation, weaker erections, difficulty building arousal, and pelvic floor dysfunction. And that last one? Most men don't even know they have it until it interferes with urination, sexual performance, or even core stability. Let me share a story. Tom was 71 when he came to see me. Retired, widowed, still had a healthy sex drive, which I was glad to hear, but he admitted something quietly. "Doc, it just doesn't feel alive anymore, like flipping a light switch and nothing happens." Turns out, Tom had been masturbating almost exclusively in his recliner. No movement, no engagement, same position, every time. Sometimes, he even fell asleep afterward. I didn't tell him to start working out or doing yoga. I just asked him to try one thing. Before you begin, stand up, stretch your legs, take a slow breath, shift your weight, roll your hips, and while you touch yourself, don't lie completely still. Let your body participate, even just a little. Move your hips, flex your thighs, breathe with intention. 2 weeks later, Tom came back smiling. It's like I flipped a switch, and this time, the lights came on. Here's the lesson. Your arousal system is not just a switch in your brain, it's a full body experience. And if your body is asleep, your desire will be too. Even something as simple as a short walk before self-pleasure can make a huge difference. Gentle movement wakes up circulation. It tells your body, hey, we're alive. It's okay to feel again. You don't need to turn masturbation into a workout. This isn't about performance, it's about awareness. Because as we age, the body requires a different kind of invitation to respond. Try this next time. Stand up for a few minutes beforehand. Stretch your lower back, hips, and thighs. Take deep, slow breaths. Engage your pelvic floor muscles gently, and let your body move, even just a little, during arousal. These small acts wake up nerve endings, increase nitric oxide production, which supports erections, and help the body reconnect with pleasure. Without movement, your body forgets how to feel. With movement, even in small doses, you begin to reclaim not just sensation, but connection. And that's really what this is all about. So if you've been feeling like pleasure has gone quiet, ask yourself, have I been staying too still for too long? Because the truth is, your chair might be comfortable, but it may also be slowly numbing your body and your desire. If this message is resonating with you, and you're starting to see how even small changes can bring big results, take a moment right now to hit the subscribe button. That way, you won't miss the rest of this powerful series. Because what's coming next could help you unlock the emotional energy behind real, lasting vitality. Now let's explore something even more subtle, but perhaps even more powerful. The emotional reason many men turn to masturbation in the first place. And how, when it becomes a tool for escape rather than connection, it slowly chips away at your vitality. You see, over the past 30 years, I've talked to thousands of men, fathers, husbands, veterans, widowers, who carry a quiet truth inside them. A truth they rarely say out loud. They're not always aroused when they masturbate. They're just lonely, or anxious, or tired of feeling nothing. And in those silent moments, when the house is still and the memories come flooding in, they turn to the one thing that gives them 5 minutes of escape. I understand that. I really do. But here's what I want to gently point out. When we use self-pleasure not as an expression of desire, but as a way to avoid feeling, we begin to lose connection, not just with others, but with ourselves. Because the body keeps track, and what we repress emotionally doesn't just disappear. It gets stored in tension, fatigue, insomnia, low mood, or in that vague emptiness we can't quite explain. One of my patients, Harold, was 74 when he came to see me. A retired engineer. His wife had passed 7 years earlier. He was still sharp, still kind, but as he said, the days all blur together now. He admitted he masturbated almost daily, not because he felt particularly turned on, but because it gave him something to do before falling asleep. But when I asked how he felt afterward, he went quiet, then said one word, empty. That word stuck with me, because I've heard it so many times. From men who once felt strong, grounded, and passionate, but now feel more like they're running on autopilot. It's not just about age. It's not just about hormones. It's about grief, longing, the quiet ache of not being touched, not being seen, not being needed the way they once were. And no one ever told them it's okay to feel those things. That it's okay to miss the man they used to be. That it's okay to cry when no one's looking. So they bury it. And in its place, they form routines. Automatic, private, silent. But here's the thing. Masturbation done from disconnection creates more disconnection. What begins as comfort ends as depletion. So how do we shift this? Not by cutting ourselves off, not through shame, but through awareness. Start by asking yourself, gently, what am I really feeling right now? Are you lonely? Bored? Tense? Do you feel that ache in your chest but don't have words for it? Just noticing it is powerful. Because the moment you name a feeling, you start to reclaim it. You turn unconscious habit into conscious choice. And if you still choose to touch yourself, let it be with presence. No rushing. No need to finish. Just slow, kind attention to your body, without judgment. Some men I've worked with found it helpful to write a sentence or two in a journal afterward. Today I felt, or right now I need, or even, I missed her tonight. These aren't exercises in weakness, they're acts of strength. Because the man who's willing to face his truth, even quietly, even alone, is already healing. And here's what happens when you make this shift. You start to feel more, not just physically, but emotionally. You become more attuned to what your body actually needs. Pleasure becomes fuller. Your energy becomes steadier. And slowly, you stop feeling so alone. Because the goal isn't just release, it's intimacy. And that intimacy starts within. When you touch yourself with awareness, you're not escaping, you're reconnecting. And from that place, everything changes. One man told me, it's like I finally remembered I'm still a human being, not just an old man going through a routine. So if you've noticed that you're using masturbation not from desire but from discomfort, pause. Not to stop, but to listen. Your body is telling a story, and sometimes that story just wants to be heard. What comes next might be the most overlooked mistake of all, one that connects everything we've explored so far. And it might quietly be pulling you away from the strength, clarity, and confidence you still deserve. Let's keep going. Now let's bring all of this a little closer to home, because this next mistake ties everything together. It's the habit of ignoring what your body is trying to tell you. Most men I meet aren't reckless. They're not careless or self-destructive. In fact, many of them are doing exactly what they've always done. Same routines, same habits, same quiet efforts to feel something. Relief, release, comfort. But here's the truth. The body you have after 60 is not the same body you had at 30. It doesn't bounce back the same way. It doesn't recover as quickly. And perhaps most importantly, it doesn't communicate the same way. When you were younger, your body spoke loudly. You felt urges, energy, clarity. But now its voice is softer, more subtle. It speaks through sleep patterns, digestion, mood, energy, arousal. And if you've spent decades being told to tough it out or just push through, it's easy to miss what those signals actually mean. I've worked with CEOs, factory workers, veterans, teachers, men from every walk of life. And what strikes me most isn't how different their stories are, it's how similar they are. Most of them weren't raised in a world that encouraged emotional awareness. They were taught to be strong, silent, independent, and those qualities served them well until they didn't, until strength became stubbornness, until silence became isolation, until independence became avoidance. So when their body started to change, when libido dipped, energy faded, erections weakened, sleep became lighter, they didn't interpret those signals as, "My body needs care." They thought, "I'm just getting old," or worse, "I must be broken." You're not broken, you're just in a different season of life. And like every season, it requires different tools. We've already talked about how overstimulation rewires the brain, how too much frequency without recovery drains the nervous system, how ignoring prostate care causes chronic tension and inflammation, how staying still during arousal reduces circulation and weakens function, and how using masturbation to avoid feelings can drain not just the body, but the spirit. Now I want to help you see that all of these are signals your body has been whispering, not to punish you, but to guide you. But we can't follow that guidance if we don't slow down and listen. So I want to invite you to pause, just for a moment. Think about the last time you finished masturbating. How did you feel 20 minutes later? Grounded, satisfied, or dull, irritable, tired? Think about your sleep. Is it restful, or are you waking up more often? Your mood. Do you feel connected to others? Or slightly numb, distracted, restless? These aren't random symptoms, they're messages. Your body is saying, "Please, don't keep doing what you've always done. Do what I need now." And often, what it needs is less urgency and more attention. Less repetition and more intention. Less shame and more compassion. One of my patients, Marco, was 69 when he came in. He looked healthy on paper. Labs were fine, blood pressure okay, but he felt exhausted. Every day, he thought he had a sleep disorder. We tested everything. Nothing showed up. So I asked him about his habits. Turned out, he was still using porn almost nightly. He'd masturbate quickly, without arousal, mostly to get tired. But it wasn't helping. It was hurting. We worked together to create a new rhythm, cutting back the frequency, introducing movement, and most importantly, asking his body what it needed before acting. And 2 weeks later, he emailed me, "I feel awake again. Not just physically, but emotionally. It's like I've been on mute for years and someone finally turned the volume back on." That's the shift I want for you. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to give up pleasure. You just need to start listening again. Because underneath every habit is a message. And underneath every message is a man who still deserves to feel fully alive. Let's keep going, because we still have one more layer to explore. And this one is often overlooked entirely. It has to do with the very first hour of your day, and how what you do each morning might quietly be setting the tone for your energy, your hormones, and your confidence all day long. Stay with me. Let's talk about mornings. Not just coffee, emails, or reading the newspaper, but the very first moments you spend with your body. Because believe it or not, the first hour of your day can quietly shape your energy, your hormones, your circulation, and even your sexual vitality. And yet, most men give their penis no attention at all in the morning until something goes wrong. You wouldn't ignore your heart, your lungs, or your blood pressure if you knew they needed daily care. So why treat your sexual health any differently? What I've found in over 30 years of practice is that the men who thrive into their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, they don't just react when something breaks. They build small habits that keep their sexual systems alive, responsive, and integrated into their full body health. So here are 8 simple things you can start doing in the morning to support your sexual vitality, naturally, gently, and without shame. First, check in with your morning erection. Morning wood isn't just about sex, it's a reliable window into your vascular and hormonal health. If you're waking up without one consistently, it's worth paying attention. Not to panic, but to ask, what's changed? Sleep? Stress? Medication? Just track it, not obsessively, but consciously. Second, do a 30-second touch-in. Place your hand over your lower belly, your genitals, or your inner thighs. Not to arouse, but simply to notice. Is there tension, numbness, warmth? This builds sensory awareness and reconnects your brain to this part of the body. especially after years of disconnection. Third, hydrate. Erections depend on blood volume, and blood is mostly water. First thing in the morning, drink a full glass of water before coffee. It helps your circulation, brain clarity, and even urethral health after a night of dehydration. Fourth, move your pelvis. Most men sit too much, and over time, this reduces blood flow to the pelvic region. Start your day with a few hip circles, gentle lunges, or even pelvic tilts while brushing your teeth. It's not exercise, it's circulation. Fifth, stretch your lower back and hamstrings. Tight hamstrings and a stiff lower back can compress nerves that support arousal and sensation. Just 60 seconds of forward bends or cat-cow stretches in the morning can make a big difference in sexual responsiveness over time. Sixth, breathe into your belly. Shallow chest breathing keeps your nervous system in fight or flight mode, and that kills arousal. Instead, take 5 slow belly breaths. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6. This resets your vagus nerve and helps restore calm energy and better hormonal regulation. Seventh, apply warmth. A warm towel placed briefly over the groin or perineum increases circulation and relaxes the pelvic floor. It's especially helpful if you've had nighttime tension or interrupted sleep. Some men even report deeper sensitivity and stronger erections after just a week of this simple practice. And finally, speak kindly to yourself. Yes, really. Men are rarely taught to speak to their bodies with compassion. But saying something as simple as "I'm taking care of you today," or "you're still strong," can rewire the shame and silence that often surrounds male aging. Your brain responds to tone and intention, so give your body something to work with. None of these habits take more than a few minutes. You don't need fancy supplements, expensive devices, or some new product promising a miracle. You just need presence, intention, a willingness to treat your body not like a broken machine, but like a living system that still wants to serve you. And what happens when you do? You begin to wake up, not just physically, but emotionally. You notice more sensation, more confidence, more clarity. You stop chasing energy and start building it. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone or pour your coffee, try just one of these. Then build from there. Let your body know, I'm still here. I'm still listening. Because the truth is, your sexual health isn't separate from your overall health. It's a reflection of how much you care. Consistently, gently, and with dignity. And coming up next, we'll bring all of this full circle with a message I wish every man could hear. That no matter what you've struggled with in the past, no matter how old you are, you can still reclaim your vitality and begin again. Let's finish strong. So here we are. If you've made it this far, I want you to take a breath. Not just because we're at the end, but because what you've just done is rare. You chose to pause, to listen, to reflect on something most men are never taught to talk about, let alone care for, and that is a beginning. Let's take a moment to look at where we've been. We explored how overstimulation, especially through porn, can rewire the brain and numb the body. We talked about frequency, how too much self-pleasure without recovery isn't just tiring, but hormonally depleting. We addressed the prostate, a small gland often ignored until it becomes inflamed, and how habits like excessive pressure, poor technique, or lack of awareness can do damage you don't even feel right away. We talked about movement and how stillness during arousal starves your circulation and dulls your sensitivity over time. We touched on the emotional side, how loneliness, boredom, or unresolved grief can drive unconscious behaviors that leave you feeling emptier, not more alive. We even unpacked how ignoring your body's signals, believing that this is just aging, can slowly wear down your vitality without you realizing. And finally, we talked about morning care, how just a few minutes of connection, breath, and intention can begin to rebuild the foundation of your sexual health. But all of it, every mistake, every habit, every insight, leads to one core truth. Your body hasn't given up on you. It's just been waiting for you to show up. You don't need a pill, a product, or a perfect routine. You need presence. You need permission. You need patience. Because this isn't about being young again. It's about being whole. I often think of my own father when I speak to men like you. He was a proud man, private, never spoke about intimacy, aging, or his changing needs. And I wish so deeply that I could go back and tell him, you're not less of a man because your body is different now. You're wiser, you're deeper, and you still deserve to feel fully alive. And that's what I want for you. Not a return to the past, but a return to yourself, to your breath, to your sensation, to your dignity. A man who listens, who respects his energy, who chooses presence over habit, and care over shame. So what now? Start small. Pick one thing. From everything we've covered, maybe it's slowing down. Maybe it's adding movement. Maybe it's tracking your morning erections. Or maybe it's just asking yourself, am I truly listening to what my body needs? Because from that one question, everything can change. You might feel more grounded, more connected, more at peace in your skin. And over time, you may find something even greater returns. Not just your erections, not just your libido, but your sense of self, your spark, your joy. It's not too late. You're not too far gone, and you're certainly not alone. This isn't about sex. It's about vitality, and vitality belongs to you at any age. So take this as your invitation to begin again, with clarity, with courage, with care. Because the truth is, you still deserve to feel alive, and it starts today.